Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Shane with Shane Media. First of all, I wanted to apologize for my coughing and raspy voice in this video. It's actually been a pretty rough week for me. I'm still getting over being sick, but with Halloween Ends finally in the history books and this David Gordon Green trilogy concluded, now that the dust has settled, I wanted to go ahead and retrospectively take a look back at the other two films in this trilogy and discuss it and tell you guys what I think. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So, moving right into this, first thing I would like to address so you know who I am as a fan of this franchise is that Halloween 1978 is my favorite horror movie of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. This movie really means a lot to me. I've loved it since I was a kid. I love this entire franchise, the good and the bad. It's not always perfect. In fact, honestly, it's not even always good, but I've enjoyed the ups and the downs. It's been a roller coaster with this franchise for sure, but I've been on board with this David Gordon Green trilogy. I mean, I was a little unsure about it when they were going through all the advertisement because I'm like, okay, Halloween H2O all over again, you know? So I wasn't a big fan of that movie. I didn't think it was awful, but I definitely didn't love it. And I thought this was going to be like that, but I actually really loved it. I mean, it's definitely in my top 3, and it might be my favorite sequel. There's a couple others that make it a pretty close call, but I really do love this movie. So I think there's a lot more good in it than bad. So that being said, I do want to do this video in 3 different sections. I want to go over the good, then I want to go over my mixed, and then I'll go over the bad. But I do think there's a lot more good in this video than bad, so this first part's probably going to take up, most of the runtime, so I'm going to go ahead and knock it out. And honestly, the first really great thing that this movie does right is Michael Myers himself. I mean, looking back at the rest of this franchise, I think we can all agree that even some of the best entries were hindered by Michael Myers himself, whether it was his performance or his physique or definitely the mask. I mean, the mask has been a problem since part 4, and I really don't know why. I mean, do they not keep the masks from the movies before? I don't know if there's issues with rights on that. I've never really looked it up. I've never researched it, but that's never made sense to me. So the mask should be the easiest thing to get right. It is just a prop. It doesn't take any special editing. I don't know. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But they got Michael Myers right in this movie. I mean, Michael Myers himself, his walk, his physique, his mask, his mannerisms, the way he enjoys himself. I mean, his childlike curiosity when he's killing. I think all 3 of these movies, maybe not so much Ends, but definitely 18 and Kills really honed in on Michael Myers himself and did that right. So I really did appreciate that. It seems like James Jude Courtney really did his homework and definitely studied that first movie and what Nick Castle did. I don't know if he looked at any of the other Michael Myers as kind of a point of reference of what not to do, but he definitely knew what he should do, and I think he nailed it spot on. And, moving on from that, the next thing would be Laurie. I think Jamie Lee Curtis, as usual, knocked it out of the park in this franchise. She, always been a great actress, and she's always kind of been the heart of Halloween. Others might say it's Jamie Lloyd, and I agree, I like her. But Jamie Lee Curtis, by the way, for those of you who don't know, that's Danielle Harris, although I imagine anybody watching this knows who Jamie Lloyd is to this franchise. But yeah, so back to Jamie Lee Curtis. She's awesome. I think it's a little unbelievable at some parts. I don't think it's like too far-fetched to think that she would be traumatized, 40 years later, because everybody handles trauma differently. So I'm not going to say anything on that. I just think some aspects of her character, I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I fully buy that, but it wasn't a big enough problem for me for it to ruin the entire movie experience. It didn't take me out of the movie. I didn't dock it any real points for it. It was just something I noticed. I accepted it and I moved on. And next would be Allison. Andy Matichak really, she came into this franchise. She, honed in on her role, and she brought it. I mean, I loved her. I loved her character. All three movies. If there was one thing that was truly consistent in all three movies, I think it was Allison. I know some people think she kind of betrayed her character in Halloween Ends. I don't really think so. I think a lot of that just comes down to you don't know what kind of personality shifts you would take if you went through everything she went through in 2018. So I try to apply real life scenarios to that, and in my opinion, I think people would change for better or for worse. So I think she was fine in all three movies and great in this movie. I think they could have gave her more to do, but she definitely got that in Halloween Kills. I appreciated that. And last but not least, Will Patton. I mean, I like him in everything he does. Great character actor. For what he brings to every one of his roles, even if the rest of the movie isn't that great, you can at least appreciate what he's doing on screen. I've never seen a bad performance out of that guy, ever. And this movie's no exception. He got a little more to do in Halloween Kills, and they fleshed that out, and I'll get into that when I discuss that movie. But, I liked everybody. Everything was good. I even liked Dr. Sartain. Did not like that twist. Everybody knows what twist I'm talking about. Spoiler warning if you haven't seen it, although I'd imagine anybody watching this video has seen it. Twist was dumb. It was stupid. It was unnecessary. I did not like that. But again, didn't take me out of the movie, not for long anyways, and it didn't get docked any serious points. So, the next thing, just the pacing. I feel like it established who these characters were. Great. It established everything it needed to. We know where Michael's been. It didn't give us too much exposition on the matter. We just, it set up where everybody's been. It kind of got us caught up with everything, and then it moved into the story. Michael escapes, boom, he's in Haddonfield, boom, horror ensues. I liked it. It was good. Another thing I really liked is that David Gordon Green understood what made that first movie so great. Despite the original movie having minimal blood, no gore whatsoever. I mean, there wasn't. Not by today's standards of what gore is. Most of the killings were very tame. What made that movie so scary, especially in 1978, was the atmosphere, the tone in the movie. It was the lighting. It was the blues mixing in with the dark colors and creating that really eerie, cold atmosphere. And you combine that with that, that mask and never knowing where Michael is, and you see his mask come into focus and in the shadows somewhere. That was frightening, especially in 1978. I get that the movie's a little dated now, but the techniques used in that movie are still replicated to this day. Like, John Carpenter was a master at filmmaking, and I think David Gordon Green tried, he at least tried to capture that. I think the lighting could have been done a little better, but most of this movie was theater of the mind. Even the kills that would have been, the gory kills, we didn't see them happening. We saw the aftermath, which I think is awesome, because I think that's more powerful when you see the aftermath of a really brutal kill and you're sitting there in your mind as the audience, and you're putting yourself in the minds of the people that are there witnessing it, going, holy moly, what happened? Like, what did this? What on earth could have happened that this is the end result? You know what I mean? That's just the intensity in that. David Gordon Green brought that to the movie in spades, I think. So despite the things he did wrong with the lighting and the overall cinematography, I would say he made up for it in the theater of the mind aspect. I liked it. And the next thing I would have to say was actually an individual scene. It wasn't an aspect of the movie's plot. It was the one take when he first, he's in Haddonfield. He's unleashed. The animal's loose, so to speak. He does that one take, and it reminded me so much of Halloween 2, and I know that's what they were going for, but it nailed it. It knocked it out of the park. Scenes like that, little moments like that, are treasures in this franchise, especially since most, if not all, of the sequels abandoned those little techniques in the rest of the franchise. Those were things that John Carpenter understood made for great filmmaking tactics. They kept you in the movie. They kept you invested. It's just, the camera tricks, the camera work. David Gordon Green brought that in this movie, again, in spades. I liked it. So, yeah, just a lot of good things in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't like it. I hear the criticisms. I acknowledge them. I even agree with some of them, but I don't let them bother me, I guess, because I enjoyed the movie. I try not to go into any movie, and just shred it to pieces or tear it apart. I want to see the good in movies. Sometimes I can't, but others, like in this case, I did. I loved it. I thought maybe it was just the newness bias when it came out, but I walked out of the theater and I was like, wow, favorite sequel right there. And I was a fan of this franchise. I liked several of the sequels quite a bit. I even appreciated some of the bad ones that people didn't like, but I knew right away this was second place. And I saw it 2 more times in theater, and then I bought it when it came out on Blu-ray and watched it a few more times, and my opinion never changed. In fact, I liked it even more. So that's when I pretty much cemented this movie in its position as second best in the franchise, bar none. You can disagree with me, that's fine. I don't get mad about that, but that's my opinion, guys. So getting into the mixed aspects of this movie, I guess the big one would be the lighting. Yeah, there wasn't enough usage of blues and, darks and blues in this movie. It had I guess it had kind of a red hue to it in areas where I felt like blue would have done it more justice. Judy Greer wasn't the best, She definitely was better in Halloween Kills by a landslide, actually. I think most people had a problem with Judy Greer, and while I had less of a problem with her than most people, I saw the issues. She kind of, I could see where she would wear on people after a while. She had kind of a wooden performance, especially after the dinner scene, when she's telling Allison and explaining to her why she has the issues she does with her mother. That was some wonky acting right there, but, it is what it is. I let it go. Again, nothing in this movie was too egregious for me to not be able to look past it, ultimately. So most of these are just little nitpicks, but since it is I'm trying to do a traditional review, I'm going through and telling you what I didn't like, and if I had to pick something, that would be it. As far as a mixed, again, I can't even say I really don't like that. That's why it's going in the mixed category. But Just some things I noticed that could have been improved. Another thing that I guess I would have done different, I've never made a movie, so I try not to be too critical of stuff like this, but I guess something I would have probably preferred to see was, one, Sartain's character didn't need to be there. I think if they would have picked a more interesting route to take his character, he would have been awesome, because I liked conceptually what they were doing with him at first. His curiosity and desire to see Michael in his natural habitat. I like that. You could do something with that, but after the way they went with it, I was like, yeah, you can go. You didn't even need to be in the movie. You served no purpose to the ultimate outcome other than getting Michael to Laurie, which I can think of 100 other ways that could have organically made that happen. I'm not going to go into all of those right now, but I've literally thought about it and put some serious thought into, okay, that didn't need to happen. Same with Allison at the dance and her phone getting thrown in the pudding or cheese dip. I don't know what that was, but maybe somebody in the comments can let me know if you see this video. Again, didn't need to happen. There was no point in it. Honestly, there could have been plenty of other ways for them not to get a hold of her. And I know that's what that was. That was a plot device so that they couldn't get a hold of her. And it is what it is. It didn't bother me too bad. But again, nitpicking for the sake of the video. That's probably it on the mixed. I mean, the cops. Yeah, okay, so the cops, the dumb cops. Again, pointless. Didn't need to be there. Served no purpose other than a cool after kill, which could have been anybody else whatsoever. And Oscar, same thing. I liked the character. Actually thought he was a really fun character, and he had a really cool death. But I don't know, the stuff with the little love triangle and him trying to, get with Allison behind cameras. I'm thinking, man, you're kind of being a douchebag right now. Like, I don't blame her for wanting nothing to do with you. So, yeah, then he died, which was cool. I like that whole scene. In fact, that scene right there was another individual scene that I would probably rank among some of the best scenes in this entire franchise. They knocked the lighting out of the park, the atmosphere, the eeriness, he's there, he's not there, aspects of Michael himself, the shape. I liked it. It was good stuff. So, actually, as I'm sitting here talking about it, I think I'm moving that out of mixed. Just a little love triangle. That was dumb. But the rest of it is fine, guys. Totally fine. But now, I guess we have to move into the bad. And there's honestly not a lot. So I'll make this quick. But I guess I've got to get it out there. And honestly, guys, the only thing I really have to say is an actual negative about this movie would be the ending. So, and I mean like the last few minutes. So if you would have taken the final fight between Michael and Laurie at the end of Halloween Ends, that short 5-minute showdown between them, and put it at the end of Halloween 2018, that would have been so epic, because that movie was leading up to that so organically and in a way that made so much sense for that fight to have happened in that movie. And I think it would have added to that movie. I did not like the ending. I don't like that they tried to go the Halloween 2 route from 81 and just, burn him to death. And it wasn't even done nearly as effectively as it was in Halloween 2. I thought that was a weak ending, and it was just an excuse to leave the door open so they could come back and do a trilogy. And, don't get me wrong, I'm a fanboy. I love this franchise. When they announced they were doing a trilogy, I was excited. But it was a catch-22, because while I was excited for that, I was kind of bummed out that they gave us such a weak ending to this movie that they've been building up for I don't remember how many months. And that's the ending you gave us. It was weak and very uninspired, and it could have been better. And I will put that as my only real negative for this movie. So I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with a lot of this video, or what I've had to say, and probably have a lot more problems with it that they would, throw in the negative category. But for me, that pretty much concludes it, guys. So for a rating, I'm giving this movie an 8.5. I was going to give it an 8, but then I watched it again to prepare for this video, and I was like, no, this movie gets an 8.5. I mean, it just really worked for me, and I understand if it didn't for you guys, but it definitely worked for me. But that's it, guys. Go ahead and hit that like and share button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and I will catch you guys in the next one.